Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our first Go Global Week information session. In fact, this is our first information session of the new semester, so it's great to see so many of you are able to join us. In terms of today, guys, if you have any questions throughout this session, please feel free to enter them into the chat. What we are going to cover today is basically an introduction to our team. We're then going to look at the international opportunities for you to study, work, or volunteer in the US and Canada. And in between sort of providing information on those opportunities, we are kindly joined today by 3 Queen's students. And what they are going to do is give you an overview and an insight into the international programs that they participated on. So to say they've kindly joined us today. We have Robin, we have Brendan, and we have Ryan. So it'll be good for you to hear about their experiences, what they did, and what they gained from those international experiences. Okay, so before we look at the opportunities that are available, we do need to mention the ongoing challenge of COVID. So it does still feel very strange to be talking to you today about global opportunities given the situation that's ongoing. Although a degree of normality has returned, we are still experiencing the effect of the pandemic in many ways. In terms of last year, some of the opportunities that we previously promoted were cancelled. However, some of the other opportunities we obviously then changed to virtual offerings. This brought on a new way of us to allow us to work and also look to allow us to sort of reevaluate what we offered. In terms of university, they had taken the decision not to allow students to travel in semester 1 last year, but during semester 2, as the situation started to ease, we were able to get some students out on both study and work placements. Although there are a few opportunities that will not take place during this academic year, still due to the pandemic, we are still able to offer a good range of both study, work, and volunteering opportunities. In terms of sort of the guidance, the guidance is updated on a regular basis, and the university is closely monitoring the situation, as well as the advice that is provided on the Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office website. We're hopeful that as we do move forward into sort of this semester and semester 2, we'll be able to return to a full complement of offerings. Okay, so in terms of our team, well, let me first of all introduce myself. My name is Rory McGrillen, and I'm a development officer within the Global Opportunities team. I have worked within the department for nearly 5 years now, and I very much feel it's a very exciting department to work in. We get to speak with students and see students travel internationally on a program for a week, on a program for a year. And when they return from those programs, they really do sort of tell us how much they gained from it and how much they enjoyed it. In terms of the department as a whole, we are a small team of 6, and we are based in the Student Guidance Centre. Our aim is very much to promote and support students with international study, work, and volunteering programs abroad. We also engage with students on a daily basis, and that's through email, through video calls, and we have weekly drop-in sessions on a Tuesday and on a Thursday. We also run a range of information sessions throughout both semester 1 and semester 2. So for example, after Go Global Week, we have organizations that will be running very specific information sessions on the programs that they provide. So in terms of today, it's very much about giving you an insight into the opportunities. We want to encourage everyone to review our website, find out more themselves about the programs, come along to the information sessions, and basically get that enthusiasm going about the opportunities that are available. In terms of booking an appointment to speak with us in person, you can do this through My Future. And these appointments take place on a Tuesday and a Thursday, and they're just sort of short 15-minute chats just with ourselves. And what we can do is give you an overview of the programs as a whole, or else delve into one specific program in more detail, looking at the eligibility criteria, the application process, and also sort of discussing if we can link you with a past participant. Okay, so at this stage, I now want to pass you on to Conleth, who's going to begin looking at the opportunities available in the US.
Thanks very much, Rory. So yeah, we're going to start with the US and the programs we're going to talk about are StudyUSA, the Wash and Iron program, Project Children, USNI, the Rhode Immigrant Centre, Mount Batten, George Moore Scholarship, and then the Queen's Global Leadership and New York Career Development Programs. So I'll start off with StudyUSA. This is a fantastic opportunity run through the British Council. It's very competitive, and as applications for this session or this programme are accepted from all institutions in the North. There are approximately 60 to 70 places available, and last year we usually have around about 30 of those places to Queen's students. The programme itself allows students to go spend one academic year in a US college or university studying business and or STEM related subjects, but you don't need to be from that background in order to apply. It's open to any NI, UK or EU undergraduate student, but you must apply in your second year to go out the following year. So after StudyUSA, you do your StudyUSA year, you'll return to your normal degree pathway. That means that if you're on a 3-year course, your total time at Queen's will be 4 years, because it adds on a year to your degree. It's a very well funded programme with your tuition fees, which are very expensive in the US anyway. Your room and board, a book allowance and one return flight, all covered by the programme. So roughly, when we calculate that up, it amounts to about 35 grand, which is brilliant, and to get covered. And there is a participation fee of £1,500. However, if you are in receipt of a maintenance grant, this £1,500 could be waived. Apart from that fee, there are a few other costs. Obviously, the likes of visas, your travel and your health insurance, and your general living expenses as well. Applications, they usually open around about November time and close around about December. And we'll actually be running an information session specifically on this programme on the 20th of October and another one on the 3rd of November. And there'll be a representative from British Council at that session to talk about the programme. For those sessions, you can register through My Future. And also at the Go Global International Fair, the British Council will be represented there, or StudyUSA will be represented at a stall. So if you haven't already registered for the fair, that takes place on Wednesday. And also, we'll have a couple of students that we'll be chatting to later on today who have been out on the StudyUSA programme, so they'll be able to talk about their experience. So the next programme is the Wash and Iron programme, another fantastic opportunity to experience some of the beauty of the US. Like StudyUSA, it's very prestigious and a competitive programme to get onto. Some notable alumni from the programme include the former Irish Taoiseach and now the Taoiseach, Leo Varadkar. The programme itself aims to inspire and develop the future leaders of tomorrow through personal development, policy debate, and also community service as well. Although the programme itself is 12 months, you'd only actually spend 8 weeks of it in the US, and that's on a summer internship either in Washington, DC or in New York. And previous internships that we've heard from students have included the likes of mayoral offices or even in the House of Congress. The other time you would spend before you go out would be preparing for your time in the US, and on your return you would undertake some community service and advocacy. During your time in the US, you would live with a host family, which is great because it obviously cuts down on your accommodation costs. In terms of eligibility, it's open to any full-time undergrad or postgrad student. However, there are restrictions on nationality or citizenship. So applicants must be born in the Republic of Ireland or Northern Ireland, or be a citizen of Ireland or Northern Ireland, or regard Ireland or Northern Ireland as home. Now, that can be open to a bit of interpretation. I would suggest the best way of finding out if you're eligible is either go on to the Wash and Iron programme website, which is just at the bottom of the screen there, or the Wash and Iron will actually be at the fair on Wednesday, and one of the representatives will be able to answer all your questions at that. In terms of costs, the programme costs approximately £1,200, quite kind of similar to StudyUSA. And again, you can apply for a scholarship if you're in receipt of grants. That means that the programme itself covers your accommodation, your flights, your visa fees, and also they provide a weekly stipend to cover the likes of travel costs. Again, we'll be running an information session, a standalone information session later in the year, and that'll be on Wednesday, the 24th of November. You can see all these information sessions on My Future. The next program we'll talk about is Project Children, another really well-funded program, and this is a summer program. It runs for 7 weeks in total. The first week of that, you would spend volunteering on a community project with Habitat for Humanity. By the way, Habitat for Humanity are also represented at the fair on Wednesday, if you want to talk to those guys. The other 6 weeks you would spend on the program on an internship with a US company. Now, previous internships have included being with elected representatives' offices, museums, and media outlets as well. Like the Wash and Iron program, you would stay with a host family. Again, that's great because it covers your costs. In terms of the places that are available, it can be quite competitive. There's only 20 to 25 places that are up for grabs. We had 12 students participating in the program in 2019, 2020, the summer 2020, and this summer, unfortunately, because of the pandemic, the program has been cancelled. But we would hope that for next summer, the program will go ahead, although we have to get clarification on that. In terms of eligibility for the program, it's open to full-time undergrad and postgrad students. However, you must be between 18 and 24 and hold a UK or Irish passport, or be a resident of the UK or Ireland or Northern Ireland, obviously. Similar to StudyUSA and the Wash and Iron program, this program did a lot of the costs are covered with this program. So you actually, in terms of what you would have to pay, the program fee is around about £100. There's a $160 processing fee for your visa, and also the likes of travel insurance and spending money you would have to cost yourself. So the accommodation and flights are all covered by the program. As I said, although the program was cancelled in the last couple of summers, we would hope that it'll be going ahead for next summer, and we're just literally waiting for clarification from Project Children on that. As soon as we hear that, we'll put up details of maybe an information session on My Future, so that you can come along to. The next program that I'm going to just talk about is the USNI Mentorship Program. This is open to students in their final year and also recent graduates. It's an opportunity for students to undertake a year's paid placement in a leading corporation in the US. Not only is it paid, but you would get the experience in a major US city and working life in a US city. The program itself aims to develop future business leaders and entrepreneurs of Northern Ireland. You would develop an understanding of US business, build a strong network of contacts, improve your business management and leadership skills, and contribute to the prosperity of Northern Ireland, and join a growing alumni network in the US. Placements in the past have included the likes of Coca-Cola, HBO, Moet Hennessy, KPMG, Teneo, IBM. So fantastic opportunities in huge organizations. And these opportunities have been based in New York, Chicago, and Atlanta. It is, again, like StudyUSA and Wash and Iron and Project Children, it's a competitive program. So if you are interested, our suggestion would be get on and look at the information and start to think about applying. There's about 10 places available on the program, and we've had students gone out over the last few years. We are waiting on clarification whether this program will go ahead in 2022. We hope it would, because it is a fantastic opportunity. So just keep an eye on My Future, and that's where we will be, promoting these opportunities and making students aware of that they're going for next year. So I will hand back to Rory, who will cover a few more programs now.
Okay, thanks, Conleth. So I suppose Conleth touched on a sort of interesting point there. There has been a lot of sort of travel restrictions in terms of going to the US, so a few of the programs are obviously still to be confirmed. The next organisation I would like to introduce you to is called the Rhode Immigrant Centre. Queen's and the centre have very good links, and in fact, a number of Queen's alumni have worked for the centre. The centre's aim is basically to support immigrants coming to the US and immigrants in the US. The centre is based in Boston, and they are a J1 visa sponsor for students who wish to work in the US for up to 1 year. So if you have secured a work placement or you are on the lookout for work placement, this is the J1 visa sponsor we would recommend. Quite often we get a lot of questions from students asking, can they go through this process themselves and sort of cut down the costs? If you are looking to complete a placement in the US or work for up to a year, you can't do that process on your own. You need to approach a sort of approved US government sponsor. The reason that we would sort of approve or we'd recommend the Rhode Immigrant Centre is that, first of all, we have that close relationship with them. Secondly, in terms of the students that went through the J1 process with them, there's been significant numbers from Queen's, and the feedback has always been positive in terms of going through the process and the support that's been available. In terms of their Learning Exchange program, they have 2 programs that are available to Queen's students. The first one is their J1 1-year intern visa, and this Rhode Centre will support all students to secure a visa, and that's regardless of your nationality or what passport you hold. The main criteria to access this visa sponsorship route is that you already have a placement or an offer of a job for a year lined up. So if there's a company or organization that have offered you a placement, but you're at the stage where you will or need to apply for the visa, then I would recommend contacting the Rhode Immigrant Centre, and they'll be able to support you with all the paperwork and the processing of that documentation. The second program they run is their J1 Irish Work and Travel Visa, or their graduate visa program. This one is restricted to Irish passport holders and those students that are graduating from Queen's that want to travel to the US with work lined up. The reason it's restricted to Irish passport holders is not by choice, but an agreement between the US government and the Irish government. So what this allows sort of Irish passport holders to do is to travel out to the US without a placement or work lined up. The benefit of this program is that students then have up to 120 days to secure a placement or job offer for the year. I suppose the advantage of that is that you're on the ground in New York or Boston or Chicago, and you're sort of networking and meeting with individual companies and individuals so that you can arrange interviews face to face. And it just seems slightly easier to get a job if you're on the ground. So say we would recommend the Rhode Immigrant Centre if you're looking for your J1 visa sponsorship. As I mentioned, all the good reasons why we would recommend them, but also in terms of the cost, it is very, very competitive. We've looked at some of their competitors, and the fact that the centre is a non-for-profit organisation allows them to keep their costs basically as low as possible. If you go onto their website, you'll be able to sort of register interest, and they're hoping that the US consulate in Belfast will be able to start sort of appointments from mid-November, which will allow students to travel out in placements from sort of January, February onwards. So again, as I say, if you're looking for a J1 visa, we'd recommend you considering those. Okay, the Mount Batten program has been in operation since around 1984. It's a program that allows students and young professionals to travel out to the US, and in particular New York, for a 12-month professional placement. It offers students, these placements with very reputable companies. So the likes of those listed on the sheet there, you have BlackRock, British Airways, Citibank, but they also work with sort of new startup companies, and sort of each of the companies they work with is vetted and quality assured. In terms of the program itself, there are certain eligibility criteria. So they ask that students or young professionals have secured or are on track with a two class degree classification. They also ask that participants have at least 6 months sort of professional experience, and this allows them to sort of compete for these high profile positions. It's very important that I do note there is a cost associated with this program, and the cost is very high. So there's a $6,000 cost to take part. But however, what this does cover is your visa coordination, and probably the highest cost in there is your cost of your shared accommodation. So between sort of 4 or 5 young professionals will share an apartment just about 15 minutes away from central Manhattan, and your rent will be covered for the year. You also receive a monthly stipend of approximately $1,300 per month, and your health coverage and health insurance will be provided as well. So although there's an upfront cost, it sort of filters back through in terms of your accommodation and your stipend. The organisation offers March and August start dates, so there's a bit of flexibility there. And in terms of eligibility, it's, as I said, in terms of that 2-2 degree classification, it's open to non-US citizens and all other nationalities. If you'd like further details, I'd recommend going on their website and again, just register your interest and start to build up your research on this opportunity. Okay, a recent program that has been launched in the last 2 to 3 years is the George Moore Scholarships. George Moore was a very successful Irish-American businessman, and when he passed away, his family decided they'd like to start a scholarship in his memory. And in his memory, it was important that they recognised how important it was that he travelled to the US to gain a master's education in Georgetown University. So what they're offering is a very highly funded scholarship program for students to complete a postgraduate master's, mainly in the US, but they will consider other worldwide universities. The scholarship itself covers postgraduate fees. So as Conleth mentioned in the StudyUSA, US college fees range from $30,000 upwards, so they're quite substantial. This particular scholarship will cover those costs. It'll also provide funding towards your travel, your living costs, your health insurance, and is a very, very highly funded opportunity. The organisation are delivering an information session on the 29th of October. And during that information session, you'll get to hear from 2 students that are currently taking part in the program. So we have a student, Emma, who's currently out in University of Texas, and she received funding to do her postgraduate study out there. And we have another student who decided to go to the University of Glasgow to complete her master's. So as I mentioned, it's not just US universities, but they're open to other universities that have sort of specialised in particular research areas. And as I say, if you are interested in international postgraduate study, this is a very interesting program to come along and hear a bit more about. Okay, there's 2 programs that we haven't been able to run over the last 2 years, and those are these are 2 that are to be confirmed. We're hoping that we'll be able to confirm them in semester 2 and communicate details if they are proceeding. The first one is the Queen's Global Leadership Program, which it would now be in its 5th year, and the New York Career Development Program, which took place in 2020, and we're hoping that we'll be able to run it again. Both programs involve a group of students traveling to an international location. It involves a group working on a project or a challenge. During the international trip, you'll meet with Queen's alumni and industry experts, and it'll just be an opportunity to develop your professional and your personal skills whilst experiencing new culture with all the group of other Queen's students. As I said, if we're able to run the programs in summer 2022, we'll be communicating the information early in semester 2. So at this stage, and I want to pass you back to Conleth.
Thanks, Rory. So at this point, we're going to just stop and talk to some of the students who have been out on the opportunities and been there and done that. So I'm glad to say that we've got 3 students with us today, Robin, Brendan and Ryan. And if you guys wouldn't mind turning on your camera and mic just at this point, it would be great. Thanks very much, folks, for coming along. I always say that I can talk for half an hour about a program, but you guys talk for 30 seconds and probably drive it even better than that. So what we'll do first is we'll just get just a little bit about an introduction kind of to yourself. So kind of like your course, your year of study, and your experience of Queen's to date, and your experience of being out on a global opportunity as well. So maybe Robin, if I get you to start.
Hello, can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
So my name is Robin, and I just finished my undergrad in biochemistry in the summer, and then now I'm currently undertaking a science PGC here at Queen's as well. So I've had a really good experience, and obviously I'm staying for my postgrad too. StudyUSA, I went to Carlow University in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and it was genuinely, I still talk about it as the best experience. I loved it so much. Unfortunately got cut quite short because, well, about 2 months short because of COVID, but I still got the benefit of it, and I would recommend it to anyone. Yeah.
Brilliant, thank you, Robin. And Brendan, if we can hear from yourself.
Yeah, I'm Brendan. I just finished there my English and Film Studies degree with Queen's, my undergrad. Definitely my highlight of the whole time at Queen's was doing the Study Canada, the Canadian exchange. So I was in Queen's University in Kingston, in Ontario, and yeah, I was there for 1 semester, and then because of COVID, I wasn't able to do the second semester then. But yeah, it was definitely the best thing I did at uni, and I would definitely recommend it.
Brilliant, thank you very much, Brendan. And Ryan?
Hi, I'm Ryan, and I studied philosophy for my undergrad, graduated this past summer. Currently in London, studying law postgrad. Have a training contract with a firm out here. And I was in the same as Robin's cohort for StudyUSA. I was based in Chicago, just outside downtown Chicago, and definitely the highlight of my undergrad, I would say.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Ryan. Do you know what? We'll stick with you, Ryan. So just why did you apply for StudyUSA? What drove you to look at the application?
Well, I really wanted to travel, and I figured out pretty early on in my undergrad that doing that through university was probably a good way to do that, because you can go for an extended period of time. But aside from that, I wanted to beef up my CV, for when I graduate. Absolutely believe that had I not done StudyUSA, I wouldn't have got this opportunity in London. It definitely helped me get to where I am today. So things like that, picking up new skills and having evidence to support those skills and those experiences was really why I wanted to apply.
Brilliant. And we'll stick with StudyUSA. So Robin, same question to yourself. What made you apply for the program?
So as a science student, most of my friends were doing traditional placements, working in a lab, and I knew that I wanted to teach, so I didn't want to do that. So I was like, I wanted to do a placement year because I didn't want to just do my 3 years of undergrad. So I was like, what can I do that will make me more employable? So I saw the program on like the Queen's management system or something, and I was like, and I knew a girl that actually done it before, and I was like, I might as well apply for this. But I knew how competitive it was, and I was like, I'm not gonna be too disheartened if I don't get it. But yeah, that was one of the reasons I wanted to travel, and I thought this is going to be really good when I'm doing my application for my PGCE, and I believe that it's the reason why I got in.
Brilliant, it's good to hear that. And Brendan, same question again. What made you apply for Canada?
Yeah, well, basically, I applied a bit early, so I applied when I was in first year uni, and then did my second year away, and it's had great like consequences in terms of employability, but it was mainly just because I just wanted some sort of like a bit of a change and to do something new, and yeah, so it was kind of based on that.
Great. Well, I'll stick with you, Brendan. How did you find the application process for StudyUSA, or for the Canadian exchange? And be kind, because it was probably me who was driving you on.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's too difficult, to be honest. Like, there's a bit of like a personal statement aspect to it, but like you're gonna have to do that a lot proceeding after your degree anyway, so it's kind of good practice, and it isn't too strenuous. Like, there's an application form basically that you submit, and then you go for an interview, but it's not that daunting. It's more like of a chat with a couple different people, and to just kind of gauge where you're at, and whether it's the right program for you and stuff. But no, it isn't too bad, the application process, I didn't think.
Yeah. Same question to yourself, Ryan. How did you find the application process for StudyUSA? It seems, as I remember, it's quite similar to what Brendan was talking about, but if you wouldn't mind just kind of giving us your thoughts.
Yeah, well, initially there's a written aspect, 4 or 5 questions that pretty much make up a personal statement, and they weren't too bad. And then if you're lucky enough, you're invited to interview, which is a formal interview. Mine was held in Queen's, actually, so you have to wear business wear and stuff. So that was a little bit intimidating, but not that bad, really. And then if you're successful at that stage, they'll invite you back for a more informal interview of where they might send you, based on your interests or your past experiences. So yeah, overall it wasn't too bad, and I think with StudyUSA that it's pretty quick turnaround. I mean, from the time you apply to getting the offer, I think it's November to December or so. So yeah.
Brilliant. Thanks very much, Ryan. We'll start looking at the actual opportunities itself. So, Robin, if you wouldn't mind, obviously you've got onto the program, you're thinking about going, and then you arrive in the US. What was your first impressions of getting to the US and being on the program?
So yeah, it was pretty terrifying when I arrived. I think everyone probably felt the same. I arrived and was like, oh my goodness, what am I doing here? And then as I wasn't a business student, so I was like, am I going to hate my classes? But luckily I loved all my classes. Even I took classes in biology and chemistry, but I took business related ones because you have to. And yeah, I loved it. It was so good. And I think it's important to know that everyone's in the same boat, and we had Ryan was on my cohort, and we had a Facebook group, and if you ever needed anyone, there was always someone to help you out, and you were never alone. So yeah, it's obviously daunting. You're across the world on your own, but all in all, at the start, it was a really positive experience, and I didn't feel like I was ever too far away from anyone that could help me. So yeah.
Yeah. So your question to yourself, Brendan, how when you got there, how did you find the start and getting integrated into life in Kingston?
Yeah, the first day or two is a bit daunting. I got to Toronto and hadn't actually moved down to the university town yet, and was a bit kind of scared about it all. The thing with Study Canada, it's a bit smaller than StudyUSA, so there's not as many people going. So there was 3 of us going from Queens, and I knew one of the girls a bit, but we were all kind of doing different things. We all went to different times and all had different accommodations sorted. So one of the girls was she'd found a house with these Canadian girls and was doing that. Another was in this sort of public housing thing, and then I got on the university halls. So I was living in the international halls at the university. But that would be a big thing I would recommend, would be to try and get into the halls if you get onto the program. If you apply early, you tend to, they're quite good at Queen's and Kingston for getting you sorted. And yeah, once I got there, it was absolutely fine because everyone in my halls were international students, so everyone was in the same boat. And yeah, you just made friends with everyone, and yeah, from then it was fine.
Brilliant, thanks, Brendan. I should say that we will be covering just a bit of information on the University Exchange Program in Canada after we chat to the students now. So that's one of our next slides after this. So Ryan, I suppose, was there anything when you got there? Was there anything that helped you get maybe integrated into life in the US? Did you join any clubs or societies, or did you do anything like that just to get over that initial first few weeks, first month?
Yeah, so I joined Enactus, which we have at Queen's as well. I think it's global. I joined Enactus pretty early on in the semester, and that's where I made the bulk of my friends there. Obviously, you have International Student Society, which was really good, but at my college, most of the other international students were only there for 1 semester. So when I went back after Christmas, they were all gone. But I had the Enactus friends still there who were all American. So that really helped me integrate, and also to travel a bit more too. I mean, most of my friends had cars and they would just drive us places and stuff, which was good. It was nice not to be stuck on campus and have that sort of outlet in a way.
Yeah, it's nice to see some more of the US rather than just your own wee town or city. I suppose the experiences themselves are fantastic. But Robin, apart from the living on a US campus and enjoying that side of things, what other things did you gain from your experience? I'm thinking of more the kind of personal and professional development. Sorry to Robin. Oh, your mic's off, Robin. No, I think we've lost it. I suppose. Just while you get your mic sorted, Robin, I'll maybe hand that question over to maybe Brendan. What skills did you gain, from your experience?
Yeah, well, it really helps with kind of your CV and stuff, having international experience, just because it shows like independence and like adaptability and stuff. And those are definitely things I gain. Like, I was living out in first year anyway in Belfast, but it's just such a different experience when you move away because, like you're completely independent, but I mean, it's scary for a little bit when you first get there, but it's like it's the best thing ever. Like, so, yeah, I don't know, you gain a lot.
Yeah, and I suppose there's, although it's still an English-speaking country, there's the cultural awareness side of things of, Canadian life, and building up those networks as well. I'll come back to you, Robin, because hopefully you've got your headphones kind of sorted. In terms of costs for StudyUSA, how did you find it, cost-wise, and did you find the experience expensive, or no, sorry. Still maybe experiencing. That's all right, Robin. That's grand. If you just hang on, that'd be brilliant. I'll go to yourself, Ryan. How did you find the costs for StudyUSA?
Yeah, well, StudyUSA or the British Council cover most of the experience. So your room and your board, the tuition fees are waived, textbook allowance, that goes a long way. But obviously to travel, to have your own spending money if you want to buy clothes or something, you have to save that up yourself. I would say, I can't remember how much exactly I brought out, but in between 2 and 3 grand, and still that's a stretch. In my experience, it was at least. So it can be a little bit expensive when you get out there, but that is entirely dependent on sort of your lifestyle out there. If you do want to do a bit more traveling, save more before you go. And also legally, you can only work on campus. So if there's on-campus jobs, that's great. It's a bit more income. If not, you're gonna have to rely on your savings for the extra activities. But I mean, I didn't have to buy groceries. I didn't have to pay rent and stuff. So the scholarship itself is a great help.
Yeah, brilliant. Same question to yourself, Brendan. How did you find the Canadian exchange, considering the cost wise?
Yeah, a little bit more expensive just because accommodation isn't covered, and like groceries and stuff isn't like, they just kind of, you get your fees obviously sorted, and there's there are a lot of grants available. Like there was 2 or 3 grants that I got before I went that were maybe like £600, and I think one might have been like, one was like 1,000 that covered your flights and something else. So there were things like that. But apart from that, it was just kind of saving before I went, and I think it ended up working out probably about four. The rent out there is about £500 a month, so I ended up spending, I think, about 4,000 over the full semester. So it is quite expensive.
Yeah, and you kind of touched on something that maybe students aren't aware of, that there are some funding options available, across the university and with specific schools. So always we would advise, if they're thinking about doing any of these opportunities, check with your school office to see if there's any funding available. Sometimes they'll be able to provide something, sometimes they won't. And sometimes we have a bit of money that we'll be able to provide. But yeah, don't rule out a program just because you think it's going to be really expensive. There can be other options there as well. Any major kind of things, experiences of your time that really stick out in your mind, like going to a certain place, or anything that sticks out, Ryan, from your time in Illinois?
There was, I don't know, there's so much. I mean, I went to New York and Milwaukee and St. Louis and stuff, but I was also based pretty much in Chicago, which is as good as it gets in my opinion. So every weekend, just heading into downtown Chicago and doing some sightseeing. We had free museum passes and stuff with our college, which was great. But honestly, the highlight for me was just living everyday American life, because it's very rare you get that opportunity. You might go on a holiday and you're doing a lot of sightseeing and you're busy, but having the chance to just live and study in America, it was just incredible. I miss it a lot, actually. so I'll have to go back one day.
Yeah. And what about yourself, Brendan? Anything that kind of specifically stands out in your mind?
Yeah, I mean, there were lots of things similar to what Ram was saying. Like, we did lots of trips. Like, we went to where Kingston is. It's kind of on the border to America. So we went down to America a couple of times to New York and stuff, Montreal, Toronto. I just joined loads of clubs when I got there to try and like meet a couple of people in the first few days. And there was like there's a big like camping life and stuff in Canada because there's so much like amazing like natural sites. So we went on loads of like camping trips to different places and like ski trips and stuff. But yeah, like all the friends that I made out there, like we're still like I'm just back from Barcelona, and it was me and all the ones I lived with in Canada were meeting up again. So like it like continues after you finish as well, which is great.
Yeah, that's something we hear from a lot of students who've been out in these sort of programs. The network of friends that you build up continues for years, and it's places. It's a couch to sleep on in a different country, or you know, someone you visit at a different time. So it's fantastic. I think Robin's still having just problems with her mic or her headphones. So I don't know, Robin, are you able to talk? Maybe not. No, I think she's still having problems. That's fine. Guys, we're just going to draw to a finish here. So any maybe final advice or encouragement about your program that you were on to any students thinking about doing it? And I'll start with yourself, Ryan.
Yeah, I would say if you're eligible and interested, go to some workshops at Queen's, you know, information sessions, application sessions, and then apply. Don't get too caught up on the you know, will I get homesick questions yet. Just apply and see what happens. If you get an offer, great, then you can make the decision at that point. But if you're at all interested, just give it a go. And from experience, I had a brilliant time. Everyone in my cohort, as far as I know, had a brilliant time in StudyUSA. And I would just absolutely recommend giving it a go.
Brilliant. Thanks, Ryan. And yourself, Brendan?
Yeah, mine would be similar. Just do it. Just apply, because like there's no real downside to it. The worst thing that's gonna happen is you're gonna get there and not enjoy it and then come home. But I don't know anyone who's done that. Like as soon as you get there, everyone just loves it, and it will just be the best time. So I would just encourage everyone to do it. Yeah.
Brilliant. Listen, folks, thanks Robin, thanks Brendan, thanks Ryan for your input there on the programs. We're going to continue on with the Canadian experiences. So guys, I'll get used to just turning off your mics and your cameras, but thanks very much for coming along and to let students hear how you've gone on. Brilliant, thanks guys. So we're just going to go on now into the opportunities in Canada. So the three we're going to look at is the Canadian Exchange Program, which Brendan was talking about. That was the one he was on. Some of the summer camps, like Camp Canada and Camp America, and then the MyPax Research Internship. So first of all, the University Exchange Program, like I said, that's the one Brendan was out on to Queen's University Kingston. So it allows students to spend a semester or a full academic year in an institution in Canada, and we also have one link with an institution in Australia. So 3 links in total: Queen's University Kingston that Brendan was on, the University of Alberta in Edmonton, and then also the University of Newcastle in New South Wales in Australia. This program works a wee bit similar to the Erasmus program, which you may have heard of, in that you can spend a year or a semester in one of these institutions studying your subject. It's a fantastic way not only just to experience a new country or city, but also, you know, don't underestimate how good it is to see another style of teaching, and potentially you can take subjects or modules that you may not have been able to take here at Queen's. The exchange, it's only open to full-time undergrad students, but of any nationality. But what I would bear in mind is there are some subject restrictions, and for that reason, we always ask that you seek permission from your school before you even start to apply for the program. The time that you spend in Canada or Australia would replace the time that you have been in Queen's, so it won't prolong your degree by any length, like the StudyUSA program. And the time that you spend out there in Canada or Australia, and the modules that you do, the marks that you get will be returned and transferred back when you return to Queen's. In terms of fees, any NIGB or EU students spending the full year on the University Exchange Program would only pay half fees to Queen's for the year that you're out, and that's our current guidance on that. Any students spending one semester out on the University Exchange Program will just pay the normal fees to Queen's. Now that half fee waiver doesn't apply to international students. And also in the past, we've been able to give students a bursary for when they've been gone out. The students who have gone out this year, and there are about 6, I think, in total, got out over either this semester, the full year, or second semester only. We've been able to give them £750 to go towards like flights, or just to help them when they start up. And we would hope to continue that as we go through the years. But yeah, it's just a kind of a helping hand when they get out there. In terms of applications, they usually open them. We usually open them towards the end of the year, and then interviews are planned for around about January, February time. If you keep an eye on My Future, that's where we'll be promoting the program and opening up the applications. We'll be running another information session specifically for the University Exchange Program, and that'll be on Wednesday, the 1st of December. Again, that'll be advertised on My Future as well. Now, I will be on a stand at the International Fair on Wednesday, a stand specifically for this program. So if you want to talk more about it, you can come along and chat to me from 12 to 2 on Wednesday at that stand. So in terms of summer camps, now summer camps are probably one of the most underrated ways of getting that global experience. They're paid summer jobs in a range of camps. There's sports camps, there's religious camps, there's camps for children with special needs. So there's different areas that the camps are in. And then there's a variety of different roles within the camps. Some are for camp counsellor, some are for maybe support staff, some can be for sports coaches. So don't just assume that you're going out to be maybe just a camp leader. There's loads of different roles and loads of different types of camps as well. We would always advise to be aware that there'll be costs for undertaking these camps, and we've got a few just kind of listed there. Always with these sort of opportunities, and actually with any global opportunities, we would always advise reading the small print and to make sure you're aware of what costs are actually involved. Most of the roles at summer camps will have a salary, and from our research, they're around about between $600 and $1,250 per month, and depending on the camp that you go to and the role that you're undertaking. There also is the chance to do a bit of traveling. Your visa, which will usually be set up or in conjunction with the camp, should allow you to do a bit of traveling at the end of it. Just to make you aware that we will have some of these camps represented at the fair on Wednesday. That includes American Summers, BUNAC, CCUSA, USA Summer Camps, and Camp America will all be at the fair and have stalls at the fair on Wednesday. So if you're interested in undertaking a summer camp and just want a bit more information, come along to the fair and chat to these organisations. So I'll hand you back to my colleague Rory, who will just talk about the MyTax. Sorry, no, I'll talk about the MyTax. This opportunity allows students to spend a summer on a research internship in one of 45 different institutions across Canada, and all subject areas are considered for this programme. It's a great way to see Canada and experience, again, a different type of teaching kind of the University Exchange. And the research that you would be undertaken at that university would be supervised by a Canadian lecturer. It's a really, really well-funded programme, so your flights, your visa, your accommodation are all covered by the programme, and you would also receive a living stipend for your time there. In terms of eligibility, you must be a full-time undergraduate student, either in the first of a 3-year course or the second of a 4-year course. And you must have good marks to go on this program. So you must be averaging 65 plus, and then be fluent in oral or written English and or French. So this is a fantastic opportunity, again, to see a bit of Canada and go out, during the summer on a research internship. If you're interested in this program, keep an eye on My Future. Once it's up and running, we'll be advertising all the details there. So yeah, keep an eye on My Future, or if you want, you can chat to the Global Opportunities team at the fair on Wednesday. My colleague Rory will be actually on our stall, so he'll be able to chat to you there. So in terms of what else is happening during Go Global Week, we've kind of covered all the programs that we would kind of promote. So other events happening, we will have a session specifically for international students happening later on today, and that runs from 3 to 4 o'clock. So if you're interested in hearing about the opportunities that are open to international students, I'm just going to pop the link to that up in the chat now. So anybody wants to go on that program. On tomorrow, we'll have a similar session to today's, but we'll be focusing on Europe rather than the US and Canada. Same time, it'll be from 1 to 2. So if you're interested in hearing about the likes of the Erasmus program or the Student Language Bureau that have opportunities in Europe, please register for that session. Again, I'll pop it up in the chat now, so you can register. And also, as I've been mentioning throughout the session today, I'm promoting our Go Global Virtual International Fair, which happens on Wednesday from 12 to 2. Fantastic opportunity to get to speak to a lot of organisations. We've got about 35 stalls at the fair, and you can come along and just chat to any of these organisations, look at their stalls, find out more information, and it's a great starting point for starting your journey on your global experience. So again, folks, in the chat there, I've just put up the link to the fair, and you can register for it. And the last session that we have this week is again another kind of workshop focusing on Asia this time, and that'll be happening on Thursday again at 1 o'clock. So I'm going to just pop again this link up in the chat, and you should be able to register from there. If you require any further information on any of the programs or anything that we've talked about today, you can always email us at goglobal@qub.ac.uk or give us a wee call. Now, bear in mind, as you can probably see from behind Rory and myself, we're still partially working from home, so probably the best thing to do is to drop us an email if you can, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. And then our website link is there also. And finally, what I'm going to do is put up our video that kind of promotes these global opportunities. It's a fantastic video, and it kind of encourages to get onto these programs. So hopefully it'll start now. Okay, folks, I hope that kind of provided a bit of inspiration for you to maybe undertake some of these global opportunities. And one thing I just wanted to mention is that when we talked about StudyUSA earlier, just to make you aware that the StudyUSA application process is actually live on the British Council website at the minute, with a closing date of the 15th of November. We are running an information session, like I said, next Wednesday, the 20th. So if you're interested in the programme, come along to that information session, get to hear from British Council themselves talking about the programme and all the eligibility criteria and the costs involved. And there will be a further session later in the year as well, just before the applications close. But if you're interested, speak to British Council at the fair on Wednesday, or come along to that standalone session next Wednesday. So I think we might have covered all the questions that were in the chat.
I say there's one just from Rebecca in regards to the Washington Island program. So Rebecca, just to answer your question, the organisation hoped to open their application process at the end of October. I am just going to post a link where you can register an expression of interest, and then they'll be able to contact you directly just with up-to-date information. In terms of sort of postgraduate PhD students, we have had postgraduates take part before. I suppose you have to discuss with your supervisor or your advisor studies whether you can manage the two of them, and also sort of have a chat with the Washington Island program at the fair on Wednesday when they come along. In terms of the 8-week placement, it takes place just at the start of summer, and then throughout the year before the summer, you'll have sort of orientation sessions and pre-departure sessions and team building activities. And then there'll obviously be the activities when you come back from the US experience. So as I say, I'd recommend just have a chat with the program providers at the fair, and then obviously just keep an eye on the careers events page for their specific information sessions.
I see another one just come in there, Rory, just in case you're just...
Yep, it's just, again, you can apply for the Washington Island program in first to final year, or even just as a recent graduate. So last year, unfortunately, the international aspect of the program didn't take place, but students were able to do it virtually, and we had a number of first years that took part. So as I say, first years are eligible to apply for it.
Grand, folks, I think if there's no other questions, and I don't see any more coming in, I think we've covered or answered a lot of the questions that come in through the chat. Can you be in your first year for StudyUSA? Now, you have to apply in your second year, Jasmine. One of the criteria is that you apply in your second year and go out then the year after. So it has to be second year that you'll apply in. So I don't think there's any more questions. As I mentioned, if you have anything, you can always come along to the fair and ask us, or email goglobal@qub.ac.uk. So, folks, I think we'll wrap it up there. And just to thank Ryan and Brendan and Robin for coming along and sharing their experience. A lot of the experiences that the students do are wonderful, so it's great to hear that. So hopefully we'll see you guys at the International Fair on Wednesday or one of our other sessions during the week. But yeah, we'll wrap it up and say goodbye. Bye, folks.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.